Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
Anybody
so-
watching, hook a man up.
Yeah.
we were the what was his name? Lauren Green Adama. So
Oh, yeah.
70s series, right? Benedict is Starbuck, and it was crazy.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so,
I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, but that was, and then he became face in the A team, and I still wonder, are we going to see that truck? You know, like the vehicles, and but yeah, because they've been pulling a lot of '80s kind of fanfare stuff lately.
What do you think we're gonna get, guys? Like, I grew up with like Magnum PI and Airwolf. Like, I would love, like,
Airwolf.
for me, I would love to see an Airwolf. I still remember as a kid, I can't remember how old I was, but I remember asking my parents if I could have an Airwolf. And I remember, like, you know, you had your Christmas list, and I remember they found one. And, you know, when you're a kid and you remember certain things, like a certain toy, you know, that I will always remember that the one gift that they had hidden in the corner, mom and dad did me right, and they got me an Airwolf. And I had that thing for years. I think I kept that thing all the way to high school. And I think finally my mom threw it away.
Oh, no.
I was so bummed.
No.
Helicopters were big in the '80s, right? You couldn't have a TV show or a movie that didn't, you know, there was a car chase scene, and then there was a helicopter chase scene, and then we had Airwolf, and then we had Blue Thunder, and it just
Blue Thunder
kept coming, right? So yeah, we could have a whole helicopter series in the app. And
there's Indiana Jones movie that's coming up, so I could see maybe him cracking the whip.
FA whip.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be
against Rambo shooting arrows at him.
That's it. Indy cracking the whip.
Oh.
Yeah.
So is that like
something like a Mr. Potato Head? You know, like you have to buy the whip, and then you have to buy his hat, and then his jacket, and then and
his lips.
Yeah.
And it could be like interactive as well. Like you sort of like pull the pieces out and move them around and put them in and make all sorts of different faces. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Then you're almost kind of creating a new NFT there.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, it's interesting, I guess, because the lightsabers, right? So Vader dropped with a lightsaber, and then the Luke saber drops without Luke. So I think David said that's coming, right? You're going to have to pair your Yoda saber with the Yoda NFT when he drops. It's like you start seeing that type of interaction coming. But then, does that mean I'm going to chase the Yoda to match my saber mitt? I don't know.
Are we gonna see some Antipodians again for a buck? Or you know?
So guys, we've been at it for almost 2 hours. So I don't know how long we have you, Chris and Denis. And trust me, I can go as long as you guys want to go as well. The only thing is I kind of wanted to give Alex and Fro a chance to ask some questions to you folks. I know we've been kind of going all over the place, which is what we love and why, that's kind of how it is on the podcast. But Alex and Fro, is there anything you want to ask the comic gurus over here?
Yeah, I'll go first. Is there anything in particular that you want to see on the app, like whether that be a character, IP, just something that you're looking forward to?
Oh.
Yeah, I was about to say that
when will he?
A good indicator.
Yeah, that's going to be a dangerous week for me when he shows up. So probably, that would be my favorite Wolverine. I have a suspicion that as a Star Wars nut, I agree with Aaron at My Collectibles too. And at some point, we're going to see Stormtroopers. And as a kid, I think I had 20, 25 of them, right? And you'd play with them because that's just how it was in the theaters, right? And so we'll see a lot of stormtroopers, and I do hope that they drop at a price of about 5 gems each, and there's about 100,000 of them in the app because everybody will buy 10.
Oh yeah, because I have like an army of stormtroopers that probably can't hit anything.
Yeah, so those would be my couple I'm excited for. I'm pretty sure they're coming anyways, but
yeah. And also considering as well, we just had the teaser trailer for the new Ahsoka series as well dropped not long ago as well. So that there will definitely be some Star Wars coming.
I'll have to say too, and Vipers and Cylon Raiders from the
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Cylon Raiders.
That'll be fun for me too. I've got a few of the Darth Vader TIE fighters, so that'll work good with that. So
later
For
on,
me,
you should show your collection. Sorry.
Yeah. Go to Nathan, you mate.
Go ahead.
For me, I'd like to see something like the similar catalyst of the golden moments when they came for, they've unrolled it for about 4 or 5 to 7 days. I can't remember how many days in a row. And it'd be like something like probably one of the biggest IP on the planet, like Pokemon. Although it's younger generation than me, I remember my sisters watching that all the time, and but I understand what it would bring and the magnitude, and would bring maybe new fans of comics or other type of collectibles that maybe they never thought of collecting themselves. Just to a little bit more onboarding, ideally, kind of thing. Maybe not to the point where I can't get anything anymore. But at the same time, of course, then it could bring the bots. But a lot of people kind of were pretty happy with Tales of Suspense 39. I've seen a lot of. I've got one. I know a lot of people got one, two, maybe two. So it looks like maybe they did a really good job adding some blocking people like that. But it's the onboarding part is something that I'm looking, and then of course there are people leaving in the process sometimes, known people and less known people. But at the same time, I just want to make sure that we're kind of progressing in the right direction. Would we go from 60 active users to 120 by Christmas? Ideally, that'd be great. If that ever happens. If we stay at 60, then I guess there'll be a little bit of a concern. But I'm still kind of believing in the project and then where it's going, and I'm willing to wait anyways. But I'd just like to have to see a little bit more eyeballs into
that was actually project, right? My next question is like how do you feel would we get more people into the app, like getting more people using the product? Like would it be like you feel maybe that VeVe needs to do more marketing, or just keep like trying to improve the user interface and the app and the web app, or what do you guys reckon?
I'll let Chris talk to that one first. He's a marketing guru, but it's $1 million question,
especially from a marketing perspective.
Right?
Yeah, it's the best business in the world is non-marketing related, right? It's referral and it's organic growth, but at some point that peters out, and it's forced upon every business to market themselves. Now, how they do that, there's thousands of options. But I agree. And to Denis' point, we're not really that far off of I would call it a substantial milestone moment, and just using round numbers because my math sucks. But, let's just say we have 100,000 users. To go from 100,000 and double it to 200,000 is not a difficult stretch from a marketing perspective. To go from 100,000 to 1 million, it's only a 10x. I say only, but realistically, in the world of what this represents, and if I think I put this in one of my blogs I do on Go Collect. Like when you look at the number of audiences that our IP partners have, I don't know what they are offhand, but there's millions of Marvel hardcore fans. There are millions of Star Wars hardcore fans. There are millions of Boba Fett hardcore fans who have not really been introduced to this. I do, on a very granular level, I now follow the Boba Fett fan club on Twitter. And if none of you have seen that, by all means, follow. This is an enormous resource for Boba Fett fans. Key dates, history, videos, what's going on with the Mandalorian timeline. It's incredible what they put out there. Only recently have started hearing about VeVe, what's NFTs and all this kind of stuff. So it's still so early. But let's just say, for math's sake, right, there's 10 million Star Wars fans. How difficult would it be for VeVe to get 10,000 of them, right? 0.01% of that? Not at all. The challenge just becomes, when are we ready to do it? And because what if it works so well that 1 million come, and we're not ready to have 1 million buyers in the app at the same time? So I think you're blending a little bit of operational performance and efficiency versus when you go to mass scale. But in terms of what I do for a living, I mean, we work with clients on mass scale marketing tactics and techniques all day long, and everything today is data driven. And I know if you haven't seen it, Chad and I got into this chat a little bit too on his show, but it's how you apply the data of what you know about your audience. And so all of us that are in the app do unique things, and we do common things, and we can utilize that data to talk to brand new audiences based off of those empirical stats. So we know who the Star Wars fans are. We know who the Marvel fans are. We know who the Ubisoft fans are. And when we replicate that data to go back out to those markets, you can really start to amplify. What we're doing here, obviously, is organic growth, influencer, and video marketing. And this is impactful for the business because they didn't really ask us to do this. To my knowledge, none of us are really being compensated for this. And so this is the passion. Well, wow, it's so hard for brands to build passion, and from passion comes trust. And now you can advance what I would call the educational aspect of the marketing. What is this? Why would I be a part of this? People still don't know. We're still in that phase where, like back in whatever mid-90s, like, what is internet? Like, if you haven't watched, go Google the Katie Couric Today Show, What is Internet Conversation. It's 4 minutes long. You'll be on the floor laughing. They look like fools today because of what they failed to understand what was coming. And again, mainstream media decided to take the negative narrative and make fun of it and FUD it and all that kind of stuff, right? But that's where I see the marketing as the next evolution. You're going to have to bring in the Denis and the Chris's of the world, right? I wasn't tech, like crypto, like full on in it. I dabbled in it, but I've got real world nostalgia, real world collecting and investing strategies that don't always fit with a crypto narrative. How do I get more mainstream? How do I get a comic book owner who's terrified of losing the value of his physical book or her physical book because NFT digital collectible versions put that at risk, right? And so that's the thinking out there right now. Oh, my digital things, whatever, right? I have the physical copy. Convince that group that Marvel says it's a good idea that you have both, and you're going to see 10, 20, 100,000 collectors coming into this app trying to gobble up whatever's left, because they will see what we talked about earlier. Oh my God, there's only 300 of 60,000 MC1s left. I'm going to lose out. And collectors don't want to miss out on first. That's kind of why you try into this. You want to be early and ahead of the curve. You want to buy that book speculative before it gets expensive.
Yeah, before it gets there.
Right? We're living in a world right now where I think because we've been in this, I'm in here now for a couple of years. We're what's the word? It just left my head here, but we're kind of not seeing the opportunity a little bit that's right in front of us. We've just been in it too long. It's like, right, right? It's going to drop, and then it's going to flip in the market for half of what it's dropping for. I'll just wait.
Yeah.
We're so spoiled in a way. That's, to me, the biggest opportunity that we have, because once these marketing tactics start going, and it's not just influencing and social media, there's some powerful tactics available today that can pinpoint audiences in incredibly significant ways. So I use an example, right? So if VeVe ends up at the next Comic-Con and they're on the booth with Marvel, and there's 100,000 people walking through that trade show, probably about 85,000 of them have their mobile phones with their location services on. I can pinpoint 85,000 people that attended a comic book conference and send them an offer the next day.
Yeah.
Your ability to pair location data with audience intelligence data and all this kind of stuff, we can get really, really pinpointed in the things that we start to do, and that will be things that I'm sure VeVe will start to talk about and consider, because that's how you build mass efficiency and scale in marketing. It is becoming easier. It's highly technologically advanced in using all that stuff. But I know I'm going on a little bit here, but that's the exciting part for me, because you can be so selective in who you go after and how you present your brand to them, right? Every one of us here has different things that we do when we're not talking about VeVe, maybe.
Yep.
I talk about it all the time. But talking to us in a different way. If you're a crypto specialist and you're very knowledgeable about crypto, you're going to be talking about the crypto-related benefits of these NFTs. If you are a non-crypto enthusiast who's terrified, don't buy Bitcoin because I don't understand it, that's an incredibly different approach you have to take to get that person to come into the app and buy a digital comic book. Plus, you also have to tell them why you're not signing up for a $10 a month Marvel Unlimited account, right? I can read them over there. I can read them over here. Why would I do this? So
that's right.
That'll be next.
So,
right?
So maybe to bridge the gap between the crypto world or the NFT, and then a non-crypto world, maybe the digital world, getting going on a drop to get both a physical copy and a digital copy might attract some people from the outside in to come in and say, now that would not work for, say, an MC1 because there's only so many copies. Of course, it would only work for, say, the newer release of comics, and maybe you one up that if you get a rare or ultra rare, you're actually lucked out. You got a copy that nobody has.
That's it.
In the bookstore, right?
Or you could do something like some of the independent artists do, like a Ron English or something like that. You could do like, if you go for the drop, then you get the NFT, but you also go to get like a physical of that NFT as well.
Right. Yeah,
that might be the good way to bridge it somehow.
There's so much utility potential in this, right? And that's the exciting part of this. Like, you get the James Bond asset, a poster, whatever, and you get a ticket to the next movie release. All of this potential. Star Wars has got more movies coming out, more shows coming out, have exclusive rights to meet the actors, if you can get down there and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I remember, Denny, you met Brian Stelfreeze, right, at the Vancouver Comic-Con.
Did you know?
Was he not thrilled to know that you'd bought his digital collectible and here you were asking to sign it on your phone? Like, that to me is enormous utility, but that's also the utility now that the artist is seeing. So what if VeVe wants more artists? What if we want more artists to come in and endorse this because they're building their careers in these Web3 platforms? There's so much that we could do that way too. So it's really unlimited where we can take this and where we can go. But I know that at some point, I forget the fellow's name, right? He paid the $10,000 for the 1939 MP1 Common, right? That is going to, I think that'll 10x easy, right? The next time it sells might be $100,000, and that's going to be newsworthy And those types of things are going to start getting out, saying, hey, because remember when all the Bored Apes and all the stuff and the 2D things we talked about, right? People were paying a fortune for them just because they were firsts, but no IP, no recognizable nostalgia, no connections, just new. When MC1 sells for $100,000, the New York Times and stuff like that is going to pick up on that story. And at that point, it's going to be real. It's like, okay, there's actual, this is happening. Yeah. Right. And then the collectors are going to come in because the mainstream media won't be able to continuously talk about the negatives and the risks and this is a fad and all the stuff that they did when they tried to block the internet, in the 90s. And you're just going to see that will start to happen mainstream. But it'll take time, of course. We need the bull cycle to come back and right, all that other fun stuff in the markets. But that will eventually be the next real thing that's going to come out of this. Someone's going to pay another $100,000 for the secret rare AF-15, right? And when those types of dollars, that's why the OTC thing, right? It goes back to that. When those types of dollars are transacting in this app, people are going to question what's going on here. Yeah,
right? Stop paying attention.
I'm missing out on something that I shouldn't be, and that will drive interest and intent. But that again, that's part of the educational side of this.
Yeah.
So,
Very good question there, Mr. President. Man, that was really cool.
I'm quite proud of myself.
Yeah. And I kind of want to give an example of what you just said. Both you and Denis, and probably even my collectibles, and even myself, we're kind of like the guys that shouldn't be here. You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't be here. Like, how I got into this is my chiropractor told me about NFTs, and to be very honest, I kind of didn't believe him, and I thought it was just kind of a scam. And I came in here for the money aspect of it all. But and I've explained through some interviews that after watching these content creators, and you're absolutely right, you have all these content creators out there that are like promoting VeVe, supporting VeVe. They're not getting paid for it, and I think watching these content creators is a really good denominator on where the wind is blowing, because my collectibles is going strong. You got like people like VeVe Arcade, Chad is going strong. All these guys are going strong. I mean, he was just on, Chad just had Ryan, who I respect fully, on the podcast yesterday. Everyone's going strong. The community's still here. But what's keeping us here, right? Why are there a bunch of older folks here that like these collectibles, like my collectibles? And in one of his interviews, he said, I'm a prime example of a guy that shouldn't be here. I never wanted to collect anything digital, and now he's doing it. And I think it's just the education of what an NFT is, what VeVe really has, and what that may turn to be in the future. And I don't think people have wrapped their heads around that yet. But that was very fascinating what you said there.
Yeah. I mean, what was it, 10 years ago? I used to go to work and go to the fax machine to see what contract had come in overnight.
What is fax?
What is fax? That might be maybe they drop a fax machine, some Xerox, right?
I hate fax machines, guys.
Oh, terrible.
I got to tell you right now, because we're in the communication business, and here in Hawaii, they still use those damn things. Like the county here still uses it, the state, anything medical, you have to use a fax machine. They won't do, DocuSign or any of that stuff. Yeah. And trying to troubleshoot fax machines in a day where infrastructure is just decaying, it sucks, guys. I mean, you can ask Delilah about maybe 45% of our service calls is to go fix fax machines, because either the fax machine broke, the lines aren't, we've got crosstalk somewhere, because I live in Hawaii, right? You should look at the poles. They're all like mismatched, right? So, yeah, they should drop a fax machine and then drop me a virtual bat so I can whack it.
I mean, at some point that'll be, it will become irrelevant. Like, you won't need the line for the fax machine, because the NFT, it'll be immutable. Like, you can't, it's on a ledger. It's just how that'll be downloaded and transacted. So eventually that will catch up too, right? But that to me was the the aha moment. It's like, okay, NFTs, like I was skeptical at first too, right? But did I think I would become this big an investor and have this many assets now? No. But I sure like the ease of having them, and you know, I don't have to store them anymore. There's no more room underneath the stairs in my basement, right? It's my wife's like, yeah, no more for you.
I can relate to that.
I've got 8 short boxes on the side of me right here, guys. It's just in my office because we've run out of room in our storage under the stairs. So,
Right.
and I don't want to put them in the attic; it's too hot. So.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, for me personally, it's like when I moved from Australia to the UK here, like, you know, I had like 2 big long boxes of comic books back in Australia with basically my parents' house.
Mhm.
And that's one thing I like about VeVe is that I can take my whole collection with me on my phone. I don't have to worry about transporting all these massive boxes, which are heavy, bulky. It costs a small fortune to try and ship it all over here. I can just take it all on my phone. It's all with me, and it's all safe, secure, and I can access it whenever I want, provided I have a Wi-Fi connection.
Right.
Yeah, they should make it where it's you know how on Netflix you can download movies to watch later. They should make
well, that's what we were just saying.
Feature, for that to download.
That's a good idea.
Or you can cast the image to somebody else's phone or on the TV screen. Right?
Just some way to enjoy them, like, you know, so like, you know, you're offline, like we were saying before, would be beneficial.
Mm-hmm. I like that what Ryan said in the interview with Chad, right? Like, it's not that far off where you'll be able to, whatever the device is, right, hold it, you'll have the hologram, and you'll be able to read your comment on the plane as this holographic image, and the person
that would be cool.
Like a Tony Stark thing, right, where you can play around and do that in AR. That'd be fun.
Right, so, Princess Leia coming out of R2D2, right? I mean, that was
that'd be cool.
Look at the progression. Like, what was that? I was 1977, right, when that movie came out, and that was just like, how could that ever happen? And then this hologram, and now we're wondering how many years until we see that. You know, that to me is the fun side of technology. That's why I've spent most of my career in this space. You know, like, you would have never thought 2 people could talk like this on a video screen. Mobile phones, that was an impossibility. Just everything that we say is impossible is now we're doing it. So, and here we are. Right?
I like to call those, because I'm a Trekkie, right? I like to call them those Star Trek moments. We are talking on a view screen. Our phones are like communicator, devices, and it's iPads. You know,
that's it.
So
it won't be too long before we have a holodeck.
Yep.
Oh, that would be awesome.
We did that for a little corporate event a couple of weeks back. We took our staff out to one of those virtual reality gaming centers. But yeah, you had the headset on.
I've seen them.
Yeah, you had a blaster or whatever. If it was heavy, you had to wear a harness and all that stuff. And then you're just sitting in an empty warehouse and you're looking around going, what? You know, you just can't comprehend. And then all of a sudden they turn the game on and we're up in some space station hunting aliens. And all of a sudden, you know, you're walking.
Cool.
Yeah, and your brain is like,
wow. That is cool.
Absolutely immersed in this.
That was like Star Tours.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I just said, and this is like, I don't know, let's just call it version 2 of that. You know, in a few years, that is just going to be mind-boggling how intensive that is. And that's where I think today, right, like VeVe and whatnot, they're building these little pieces that are going to be, you know, in that realm. So
yeah,
so that was an incredible experience. If you haven't done something like that,
I get kind of sick with those goggles and the Oculus. I don't fare well with that. I think I'll do better when they do like AR. You know, you wear glasses and it's right in front of you, kind of a thing. But the Oculus, I just I get kind of sick. I tried wearing it at Decon and I just wasn't having it. Yeah, for me personally.
Yeah,
I can go on a sailboat just fine, but the Oculus, nah.
Put your hand up if you feel sick, and we'll come out.
Yeah, I'll hold a bag.
Never used one.
Barf bag beside you as you play. Yeah, it was fun, but early, right? I was going to ask you guys too.
Go ahead.
Did anybody? Are you all buying the DC comics as well? Have you tried that system? Because I know we're talking about a drop weight system coming on VeVe. Thoughts?
So yeah, I bought a few. I'm not a fan of it, but it is fair, I guess. I think my biggest issue with DC is their back end. It's just not solidified. You know, I guess the joke is more servers, right? But it really isn't a joke. The website gets bogged down. I tried to go for that Kingdom Come Superman book, and I couldn't even get into the site. It said that I had the wrong password. It would freeze, and you know, I just said forget about it. So it's got bugs, and that is my big problem with DC. Another thing I don't like is, you know, to go for like a bat cowl drop, you know, early access. That's 3:30 in the morning here for me, right? So it's not ideal. So
that's like Alex time.
That's my time.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've gone for a couple drops. I own 3 bat cowls. I am a big DC fan, and I love Batman. Batman is like my guy. Fro knows he's like my favorite superhero of all time. So, but I like it, and I think those bat cowls have been paying off. Although I never bought them for any payoff. I love Batman, so I bought 3 cowls. And yeah, I got some airdrops. I've got the the Legacy Cowl drop. So I got 3 of those books, and I've got like a nice stack of DC comics. So I'm happy with it. I'm just not happy with the drop system, but you know, over time you get used to it. Yeah.
I think I've got 4 or 5 comics now out of that. I'm debating because I know the excitement of the drop on VeVe, like when, especially from a year or so ago, to Denise's point, like, you know, and all the other things that we would try and do, right? Put your iPad on top of my router, everything. The drop system, I guess, is a little bit more fair, but I don't know if it has the same level of excitement. I find it frustrating because I wait for 30 minutes or whatever, and then I get my, okay, enter now, and then it says, yeah, okay, now you got another hour wait. And it's like, I just got up early and waited, and I don't know. I'm debatable on it, but and then it's just, I'm going to go in the market and hunt for the mint anyways and on it. So yeah, what does it matter? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we got to see the way VeVe implements their drop system versus DC, because DC's is just not fleshed out. It's like beta before beta. I think it's just not a good experience. And then you're right. You know, you log in at like say 5 in the morning, and then at 6 o'clock. Oh wait, you got another hour. And it's like, well, that sucks. You know. And how come you let me wait in the queue, and then I finally get in and it's all sold out? Why not just say, oh, it's sold out, right? So there's definitely some work that they got to do there.
That's it. Or if you're waiting in the queue and you do the silly thing of refreshing, and then it chucks you at the back of the queue again.
Yes, I know. That's frustrating.
I've done that a couple of times. So it's like you're like 2 or 3 like right from the end, and then like you either close a window or you do something, or something happens and it like logs you out. And you try and get back in. Oh, you're back at like number 10,000 in the queue. I'm just like,
Alex was the unlucky one that got a Superman one, and then they threw it out. So.
Yeah, I was one of those ones. So, I mean, it was nice that like that like they compensated you like with another airdrop of like the Black Adam comic. I mean that was nice, cool, but it's not a Superman #1, is it?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah,
so that kind of soured my experience with NFT a little bit, with Palm a little bit, but I've only ever gone like for like 1 or 2 comics, but I purely just focus on VeVe because I don't want to spread myself too thin, because I've only got X amount of money to throw at it as it is. I don't want to go spreading all over these different platforms.
I'd love to be a fly in the wall though behind that discussion, when it's like, okay, well, here's the Todd Batman, but we're not giving you the comics, right? We're gonna do it on our own. And it's like, really? Okay, are you sure?
We have a proven formula here,
Yeah, you're gonna try and do it yourself, but I don't know. I look at like DC as Betamax and even VHS. Right? One of them won out, and so the other had to then start making the cassettes for the other one. But Who knows? We'll see.
Well, it could be a
It's
case of
too
like,
bad.
they go off and do their own thing, and then secretly they're just going,
Yeah.
like, I get it.
Yeah.
We will probably never know, but I would have liked to seen Marvel and DC going head to head on the VeVe app, selling to see what which one would have not maybe fared better, but there are some on the DC side that are just as old as the Marvel comics. I would have liked to seen it on the platform. I'm not certainly as to the reason why it never really panned out, but I guess it's a different arrangement. It's kind of I would have liked to seen them. I was always hoping to, but now maybe it's not going to pan out. But it is what it is. Right?
It is. Yeah.
It would be good to get. It would be good to get some of their comic books on the app as well, like some like the DC versus Marvel ones, or some like the amalgamation comics as well.
Yeah.
And crossovers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Maybe in the future.
Yeah,
You never know.
Right. That's a good idea. Actually, I like that.
VeVe, are you listening?
Yeah. I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah.
There's one
what's
thing
that
that
That was one of the best. That was one of the best lines from RoboCop like ever.
there's one thing that
is awesome
DC
too.
does really well.
Yeah.
They have those
Yeah.
covers. This is the Todd's what's this character again?
What, Spawn?
Spawn.
Spawn
Spawn,
Batman.
Spawn Batman.
This is kind of the newer version, and this is the Jason Fabrock version. I think I'm not sure if you
You
see
can't
it.
see it. The green screen.
Your green screen's blocking it.
Oh, the green screen, yeah.
Yeah.
This is Jason Fabrock, who's
that's
actually
nice.
on the
Black and
platform,
white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Oh, yeah. I could see it. You got the black and white. Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Oh, we're
That's a
pulling
good
out
one.
comics now.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's
yeah.
a good comic.
But this is what happens when a bunch of VeVe people meet at a comic book store, right? You end up,
Yes.
oh my God.
Ah,
There you go. Nick.
Nice.
good work.
D, show him the Hawaiian Avenger.
Oh,
Is that
I've heard
Got the Mando
Pineapple
comic.
or
Oh, very
look
nice.
at
Mandalorian.
That's one I want to see on
Ooh, I
VeVe. Is
want
Mando.
that.
I want that
That's
one.
I
nice.
want that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to get
I got-
Mando on VeVe.
that's the one
Ooh,
you
look
just
at
put
that
on
one.
the Twitter, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
That the
I
Alex
like.
Ross?
I'm a
Alex
big
Ross
fan of
cover?
Alec Ross. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
it
that's
Tanaka? Or
Yeah, show him the
Pineapple?
Kanaka. Yeah, so that's the Hawaiian Avenger right there.
Ooh, wow.
So what the Hawaiian
Yeah.
Avenger is, it's a
really
retired vet, and it's kind of like a Punisher story where he dresses up, as a Hawaiian warrior, and he, goes outside the streets of Hawaii and does
I like
like
it.
positive
He's Hawaiian
deeds.
Daredevil.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
So-
awesome.
And that right there is the pineapple man. If you guys can
Can't
see
really
that.
see it.
If it decides
Oh, shoot,
to-
a little
to
bit.
focus.
Hold on. Let me take
That's
off
a
my
nice
thing.
cover too.
So-
I thought we'd end up seeing the Bounty Hunter comic book or something.
I've met him in real life.
No
So,
Oh,
yeah, his son lives on this island. Oh, there you go.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
that's cool.
So-
It was
So
nasty.
Pineapple Man is about a young boy who got into a crime. He was basically he was working for a crime boss, and then he ended up almost dying. And then the spirit of Ku, which is the Hawaiian god of war, encompasses him, and so he turns into the Hawaiian war god, and that's why he looks like Pineapple Man. So it's a
it's kinda
really
like a-
really cool
kinda-
story by Sam Campos.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Ghost Rider vibes.
Ghost Rider vibes. And so the Hawaiian Avenger is part of his storyline. And everyone here in the recording is going to get a Hawaiian Avenger, by the way. So it's coming with your
nice.
guys' comics.
thank
So
you.
Hawaiian comics.
Thank you.
yeah.
Oh,
But it's just something I wanted to share. And we always like to share, Hawaii artists. And So in the book, you'll be able to see the back, and if you guys ever want to like order more, you can just go straight to the website, kind of a thing. Kawasaki Comics, but really cool story, guys. I think you guys will like it. Bro, you've been kind of quiet there, bud. I kind of wanted to pivot to you next. Any questions that you want to ask these guys, or any insight you want to share? This guy has a bunch of knowledge. He's being modest and quiet about it too.
Yes.
No, I'm just being like a sponge, man. I am absorbing everything. Like it's you know, hearing Chris and Denny. I mean, it's just I'm like a sponge. They both, the two of them, are a wealth of knowledge. I just can't. You know, I'm just listening. I'm absorbing, and yeah, man. It's like Thank you both for coming on and speaking with us.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I do have one question for each of you, though. Seeing how you guys are both big on mint hunting, what is your favorite mint number for a collectible and for a comic book? Man, I like to know, because I know about the 1939s that Chris has been talking about. But yeah, so this is gonna get good.
You want to go, Denny, first?
Sure. For me, it's pretty obvious. I've been sniping or collecting as many 628 I can, but 628 for me, it pertains to, of course, August 1962 for Spider-Man, and also Jim 83 is actually August 1962 as well. Then I started pairing, which is kind of a bit of a strategy I'm using to a certain extent, pairing with other comic books. But at the same time, I just realized that I'm kind of steering away from the historical book date for a particular book that is not related to August 1962. But also at the same time, pairing will only be good, I guess, to a certain extent if we eventually be able to sell in block. Like if we want to sell a whole bunch of items in one go, and we can kind of list them. If we never be able to pair ever, for whatever reason, I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm not saying it's worth nothing, but the value in the pairing is as in together kind of thing. So that's but in terms of collectibles, I'm not a big collectible guy. I'm more of a comic guy because I can kind of relate to it, and it goes back to maybe the real value of it to a certain extent. So when I see a collectible that comes, I may or may not go for it, but for the most part, my focus is largely on comics. On that note, any of you going to go for that train? Because I think most of you guys, I think, probably have at least the original, and then the second one that came up that can fly, and then the train is going to be a big thing. Right?
Yeah.
It's my favorite trilogy. I like that was my first NFT I bought on VeVe was the DeLorean. Yeah. Just to have it. And I've said it before. I think it was like Aaron's interview. Like I look at that DeLorean. I still play with that thing. I made like AR videos. I've shared it on IG. It's the one thing I've always wanted was a DeLorean in my life. I'm a big like sci-fi nut. I love time travel movies and TV shows. That train. I mean, yeah, when I saw that, when was it? Yesterday, whenever they released it, I my jaw dropped. I'm like, oh my god, they're dropping the train.
Yeah, and then when you showed our daughter, she was pretty stoked because she loves the trilogy too.
Yeah,
and there's only a few thousand, 4,000 of them.
And it goes back to the Virgin Mint that you just said. I want to have a Virgin Mint.
I want
the train.
The train.
Yeah.
I know it took me a while. I just finished the DeLorean set. I've stacked the common and the rare, but I never had the ultra rare. And the other day, I remember, Denny, I told you, right, the 8801, 88 miles an hour. It showed up right at the floor, and I'm like, that's it. Okay, credit card. Take my money. And now we've got the trains. Okay, credit card. Yeah, but Yeah, I don't know. For me, I'm a little bit like Denis. Like I will definitely focus on the FA character comics. I think that long term, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take to get them all out, but eventually we will have all the Marvel comics that have FA tags that are first appearance characters. Then they're going to go into the series and the backstory issues. And will we see the same valuations? I don't know. But I think for me, I just like knowing that I have those FAs. And so I don't have the She-Hulk NFT, but I have some of her comics and stuff like that. Daredevil was a different story. He's my favorite character. So yes, I have both. I paid, now when he first dropped and he fell to $25-$30 in the store, I think it was maybe 2x over 3x over the floor at the time, and Mint 644 showed up. April 64 is when Daredevil came into existence. So I would have paid 3x more than that, but to get it at that level. So I mean that was an easy one for me. And then I bought a couple more, right? Threes. And then but that's sort of my strategy. You know, Denis gets those 628s. The only 628 I have, and I know at some point in the future we'll talk about this, I paid considerably more than the floor, but I got the 628 ASM NFT, the common, which was the original icon of the app. It was the first NFT that Marvel printed before all the other rarities, and that's Spidey's hit. So then he's got the AF15. I've got the NFT. That's why I say we'll be friends for life. For me, it's going after the numbers that have, first and foremost, like I have the whole Thor set, the commons through the secret rare. My secret rare is Mint 620, and then I've got all the 628s. I've got the 628s on the 6208s on the comics and whatnot. And so I really try and, to Denny's point, I'm trying to pair more of my comic mints with those NFT mints, because if selling sets ever becomes capable, then to have that is going to be exceptional. And it's also exceptionally difficult and rare to do that. So kudos to everybody that figured this out early, right? Obviously before I did. And because I picked up that from other people. I'm like, boy, that's actually really cool. And then as far as the dates, my preference, if you can get the cover date mint, to me, it doesn't really matter. If it's like I have the 19618 of the Fantastic Four. So its official publication date, the date it was printed, was August of 1961. The cover is November. And so I have the 1961-8, and I also have the 11161. But to me, I love having those types of combinations. Some books are difficult to define when they were produced, so their release date is different than their cover date, and it's not always exact. So to me, the easy one is, well, if you can get the cover date mint, fantastic. 1963-3. Right? If X-Men came out in March of 1963 and you've got the month and the year, even more scarce, even harder. And of course, the 1961 or the 1977 lightsaber, very clean, very easy mints. But I also like to try and get the month. And so 6208, 6303, or any variant that contains those digits. And I'm giving away my secret, and so there'll be lots of competition now, but I think I have enough of them that I'm okay.
We can edit this out if you want.
Yeah, people, I love it because it's to me, that's the value. I mean, I may be wrong on this. I'm probably wrong on this, but I would argue that Denny having the 628 common AF15 is going to outperform the secret rare all day long, because you've got the nostalgic cover, you've got the history, and you've got the mint, like the signature. So and even in terms of performance, how that floor price would compete getting it into a secret rare range, you're just going to do better on that. So it just checks all the boxes for me to do that. Other things I'll do is like Tales of Suspense or whatever. If the first appearance of the series was, say, 1951, and you can find a 1951 on, issue 37 or something like that, there's still a connection back to the historical first. So I do that, and then I try and dig. Like I have Darth Vader's, for instance. I stacked all the 7601s. I mean, January 76. I mean, this is when the scripts were written. 1944, May 14th, right? That's George's birthday. Yeah. So when the Star Wars fans come in, I'm just using Star Wars as an example, but like I said on Chad's show, right? They really like George Lucas. That mint number, that birth date has incredible meaning and significance. And so when I see those show up, credit card, grab it.
Yeah.
I can't let them go, but
it's that easy. It's that easy to get it. You can just put your credit card in and get what you want, right? Versus dealing with a MetaMask.
It's so easy, right? But it's what I find. I'm always in and out, throughout the day. A couple hours a day, I'll probably look at this, and I just watch because I run through the floors, and that's where I see these things, right? Like yesterday, someone put 8305 for Boba Fett, right? He only appeared in Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and Return of the Jedi was May 83 was the official U.S. release date. Right?
Right.
Sitting there at $11 on an $80 asset that Marvel Star Wars says that guy's worth $80 retail. The ultra rare should be 10x over what it is right now, and so at some point that will happen because the ultra rares will sell out, and what's the masses going to be able to afford? Commons and uncommons.
Yeah. Just filter up.
Yeah. Your title of your podcast is perfect, by the way. I mean, that's just everybody's going to focus, right? Entry points will be easier to do this. And so
I have a question for you guys. Do you know the history about the cover date on the comic book? As to why there's a cover date? So when they first started the comic book, say AF-15, for example, they released it in June 1962. More importantly, I think it's June 5th, 1962. You will not see June 5th, 1962 or June 62 on the cover book, but you will see August 1st. So what happened was, at the time where comic books were not too popular, they weren't sure if they would sell out, so they would deliver it on June 6th to all the comic book store, and they would put a cover date on it as, say, August 1st, and August 1st would be the last day that the comic book store was obliged to keep it on the shelf. And after that date, they would remove it, and they would, I think from what I remember, they would rip something on the comic book, and they would return and then get their money back. And then that practice stayed into the 70s, and then eventually, at one point, you couldn't see the release date or the published date. You'd only see the cover date because they were selling out anyways.
Yeah.
So the comic book industry weren't taking it back. You got it. It's yours. So in the older days, the data pertaining to the release date or the published date was available. Say, so for an example, Marvel comic number 1, the date is October 1939, but the release date was August 31st. It's August 31st, 1939. So, but and same for Fantastic Four number 1, which has a November 61, but the release date that is still published to this day and available is August 8th, 1961, right? So, so Chris and I had been back and forth on, okay, did you know that this is but then Chris says, is it verifiable? Who provides that information? Does Marvel provide that information? And a lot of the time we find a lot of information on Marvel Fandom, I think that's called.
Yeah.
On those, they do provide a release date and a cover date, but sometimes when you compare it to what Marvel says at cover date, sometimes they contradict one another. So I always go back to Marvel because they're the one that kind of published it, right? So Marvel will only talk about the cover date, but then if you dig a little deeper, you can find when it was actually released. But again, for certainty, the cover date will always be there no matter what, right? Regardless if it's in the 30s, in the 1930s, or in the 2000s, the cover date will always be there. It's just sometimes it's a little harder to find when it was actually published.
That's,
so that's the history behind it.
interesting. That is so interesting. So, like, if I was like some avid collector and I did my homework and dug super deep, you would want to go for the actual published date. You know, you want to go for, and I never thought of that. Wow, you're blowing my mind, guys. That is insane.
I was there. I did some research as well. I was kind of looking at X-Men or Avengers, both released in July 1963, but it will show, both of them will show September 63 as a cover date. So then I started looking and I couldn't find anything on, when you look actually on the Marvel website, it'll show the cover date. But then I found that they published an omnibus for the anything that was released in 1960 in July 63, and it would show that both of those comic books were released in July, but the cover date says September. So I found that. I was pointing out to Chris that, hey, now I have proof that 763 is just as valuable as 963. So, and then so I was proud to find it, but I had to dig deep to find it. So not everybody has the time to do it. But I like I said, I've been reading comic book in the late 60s, 70s. But then it's only as a result of VeVe that I dug deeper and I educated myself. Like, for example, say there is in the what is it called? The original script, the original sketch of the first Spider-Man was sketched in April 1962. And it's in the Library of Congress in the United States, so you can only view it, like it's protected forever as the original one. So I can find it. I managed to find April 1962. Now 462 or 624, I guess I could collect that, but then the more obvious one for Spider-Man AF-15 is 1962. The first Spider-Man series was March 1963. So 1963 is a no-brainer, right? I don't need to do much research. 1963, 1939, 1962 are all easy. I don't need anybody to kind of remind me what that means. So one day I went on a podcast, what was it, YouTube, from NFT Pirates, and there was a question about what if all of our NFTs lands on OpenSea, like all of a sudden, overnight. And then I pointed out, I said, well, if they're going there, will they know the meaning of the lowest mint of public available mint?
Probably not. No.
168. But will they know what 911962 means? Of course they would, right? Now, diluting that, would they know what 628 or 862 means? Maybe they have to search a little bit more, you know. Would I prefer to have a 1962 mint than 862 or 628? Of course, that's the easy, the no-brainer one, right? If it so happened that it's say a SR, and you'll notice that there's no major mint date that's in the SR as in 1962 or 1939 for the actual comic book. Somehow they all land happens to be in the common, or sometimes you see in the uncommon. But
Yeah.
but anyways, that was my story behind the the searching and how deep I go. But then I also think, okay, so will that mean anything to anyone, right? So I am conscious about that. I wish sometimes that VeVe would kind of educate a little bit more about those dates, and they do. Because at first when I kind of start looking at comics, so say for an instance, there's Jim 87, I think that came in that first batch, where it says 19, I can't remember, 1957, I can't remember which date, and I didn't know originally that the dates, the year that's shown on a comic book pertains to the beginning of the series, but not the comic book itself, right? So the comic book itself could be Jim 100 and something. It'll still show 1957, for example, but yet the comic book itself could have been printed on and then July 5th, July 1st, 1971, right? So then you got to dig a little deeper to find, okay, when was this one published? And that's the kind of process that Chris and I are kind of going through when we're looking for something. That's kind of the fun about it. But will it mean anything to anyone down in the future? Maybe.
It's kind of like for like when you talk about marketing on a grand scale. There's a what we call the purchase decision funnel. At the top, large format branding, talk to everybody. Everybody can buy in any price point you want, any mint you want, using VeVe. And then you get them into the consideration phase, and then you move them down and they're making the purchase, then you're funneling. And this is very similar, right? Because big audiences, the general theme right now is go after low mints. VeVe said it was important. They give you a 5% bonus on your MCP or whatever it is, right? Then there's the people that just like 4-digit mints and 3-digit mints. Aaron's famous for this, right? Like he stacks 3- and 4-digit mints. And then there's, the smaller segment like Denis and I, where we go after very specific mints. And then there's an even smaller subset that will try and figure out, when did the company start? And what's that mint look like? But I look at it as, common down to secret rare. Like you're just scaling down. And so you may only need one buyer that wants that 1939 MC1, and they won't care what the price is. That mint. And that's different than trying to find 60,000 buyers for 60,000 other issues. And that's just how anything works of value in the world, right? And so that, I think, to your point, Denis, at some point, and I do believe this is going to require having some mass adoption in here, because you're going to want to have all these people. Right now, it's just a race for getting the cheapest mint at the best price and whatnot. There's fewer of us that are spending or trying to accumulate those key mints. But that's my don't follow me, I'm lost too advice, right? But
guys, we are at 3 hours. How much more longer do you guys want to go? I keep kind of bringing.
I don't know.
What time is it where you are?
We could go forever, guys. Like it's 6 o'clock.
I'm coming up on 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, how are you feeling, Alex? You doing okay?
Hanging in there, mate.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll just take it to the tail end here, and then if we want, we can like chat off the recording as well. But I kind of wanted. It was a funny question here. Somebody asked me like, "How do you know Chris and Mazer?" I met Chris in a sniper alley that I was hosting, because if everyone knows me, I floor comics to like $1 as a giveaway. But that's how Chris and I got acquainted, was through one of my sniper alleys, and we became friends that way. And then that's how I met Mazer, was through the Twitter chats and so forth like that. So that's kind of how our friendship started. And then later on, I found out you were like some big marketing guy in Canada. Yeah. But like, I don't really, so we come from all walks of life, right? And that's the beauty of this strange thing called VeVe. It's bringing us all together. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be a millionaire or some dude on the street that lives on the beach. I mean, like, we all have something in common here, and we love the passion. This community is striving right now. I mean, this is 6 of us in here, and we've had almost a 3-hour conversation just about VeVe, and not once have I gotten bored, you guys. So, so this is fun. But I wanted the audience to kind of know how I met Chris and Mazer, and basically, exploring comics on the floor and just chatting. And that's the beauty of this thing, guys. And that's what I wanted this whole episode to be about, was just a bunch of friends talking about VeVe, not leaving VeVe, and just kind of expressing our joy and passion for it. Having said all that, this is a question I usually ask everyone on the podcast before they go, and I'm going to pose it to Chris and Mazer, and that's why do you folks still stay in VeVe? And we kind of have an idea already, but just a generalization as to what keeps you guys here, what keeps you to buying the collectibles, and a sidebar question after that. Is there a message that you want to give the community, both of you, before you go?
Chris, go ahead.
Well, first and foremost, and to thank you for this too, and the opportunity to have this time with all of you. This is it's incredibly humbling for me. The community is probably the biggest driver. I just have incredible amounts of fun. I enjoy this. I love the IP. I love the platform, the product. I love talking to everybody, hearing all these different strategies, opinions. It's just, find a business that's done this much successful galvanizing of so many people across so many continents that share this passion and can't wait to talk about it. So for me, that's the enormously big driving factor. It led me to meeting you on a winning $1 comic. I was just like blown away by that. This is so cool, you're doing this. And that passion became something that I then said, well, I need to write about this. I need to document this journey. How did I get here? Why am I here? That led me to connecting with Go Collect, who I've watched for years and read their content. Now they've invited me to write for them. I'm incredibly thankful for that. And it's just my way of sharing, because I'm a better writer than usually a videographer and talker and all that kind of stuff. And so it's my little way of giving back. And I know you probably see me on Twitter every once in a while, right? I post about something that I found. It's the best way to say this. I'm trying not to brag. I'm trying to show people that there are some really fun ways to go about collecting and sharing that passion back with everybody. And if I can do that, and it gives a couple of people a couple of extra ideas that gets them to be more involved in the app, then we all win from that. And so that's what I do to try and keep everybody connected and having a really good time and watching and sharing and enjoying this experience. So that's
awesome.
Great question. Thank you.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
And you, Mazer?
Yeah, for me, it's pretty much the same thing as Chris. I guess what keeps me going is I have to admit, it's actually the community. I'd like to hear what people take on things, seeing how some collection evolves, the strategy that they're kind of using, and it's about adapting to what's going on, just because you got to move the goalposts from once in a while, just so that you get, at least you're feeling you're kind of gaining some traction in what you're trying to collect. And but largely the community it's been amazing. The friends that I met, you guys, and I guess to a certain extent, I started watching. I guess you can kind of say that my collectibles was kind of like a bit of the glue for a lot of us to start with. So if you ever watched this, Aaron, you know what I mean. But so that from that perspective, the positive vibes and everything. But I guess, like I said earlier, The fact that there's some other voices that are out there. Some of them are like big time FUD, too much, I guess, to a certain extent. But there's some critical voices that we need to kind of listen to at the same time, as long as it's constructive criticism, of course. What I would like to say to the community is that you just got to be careful of what you invest in. Just don't invest more than you can. So you got to play it safe at the same time, but collect what you like. That's the most important part. What brought me in, of course, was actually the nostalgia of comic books in my case, and to a certain extent some collectibles that that I've collected here and there once in a while, but largely comic books for me, so I can kind of relate to that. And in terms of strategy, there's everything for everyone. If you like low mints, the lowest mint available, that's just as good as what I'm doing, what Chris is doing, what you guys are doing. There's no right or wrong. We're not competing against one another. We're just kind of having a good time.
Right.
I be the first to admit that I was actually, when I started collecting, I wanted to get the lowest mint possible that I could afford at the time, until I met Chris. Kind of opened a little bit my eyes about the correct mint number. And so I thought, then I went on steroids that way too, right? So, but, so there's no right or wrong here. We do like to collect low mints. Chris, I know he likes to collect binaries and palindromes, probably more than I am. I've got some as well. So it's everybody's kind of collecting the way they want, and there's no right or wrong. So that's my last word on that one.
Nice one.
Awesome, guys. That is so awesome. Two legends on the podcast. That's how I look at it, guys. But also, like I said, we just kind of met right on the floor as well. Alex and Fro, is there any other questions you want to ask these guys before we turn off the cameras?
What could I ask? So I'll because I'm kind of like a film and TV guy as well. I'll ask you two questions. Like, one, what have you watched the TV series Book of Boba Fett, and what did you think of it? And also, are you buzzing for the upcoming Daredevil TV show?
I gotta jump in, Denny. I am beyond stoked for Daredevil. I just pray they don't turn him into a comedian like She-Hulk. Please, hear me, God. He's a dark character, right? But 18 episodes is it's unheard of. You don't get that many shows, and so it tells me that Marvel is putting their weight and their might behind that character, and they are going to produce him into something. So we're very early and fortunate, I feel, to have that character in the app. So very excited. He's my biggest collection of comics. Is all Daredevil. He's everywhere in here. Book of Boba Fett. Yes, I liked it. I like the actor. Comparative to Mandalorian, it's my second pick. Compared to Andor, it's my third pick. But I will say that there's been some incredible content coming out from Star Wars. That Andor series, I questioned and challenged everything that came out new, after the original series. It's just so biased, but now they're fantastically done. They're fantastically done, and they're doing it right. They're putting the steam behind that engine, and off it goes. And so, but that would be my weighting: Andor, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. But I still like Book of Boba Fett. I'm a Boba Fett fan, so I'm just happy to see that he came out of the Sarlacc pit in one piece, and we now get more content to tell the story. So I'm good with it. Yeah, good question. Thanks.
Nice one. Yeah, Fro, did you want to throw a question in, mate?
Or wait, Mazer, did you want to answer that question too?
If you had
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Go.
I'm the Daredevil. Well, by all means, yes. I just cannot wait. I was kind of telling Chris that if at one point I reminded him that Daredevil actually was in Vancouver in a Hulk episode with Lou Ferrigno. Not
Oh,
sure if
no
you
way.
ever. That is so old. I found it. I had to tell Chris. I said, "Did you know that Daredevil was here?"
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I can't wait. Like the particularly season one, the original season one on Netflix, I think was episode 2 or 3 when they had that big fight against a certain mob or something like that. I can't
The
remember. Like
hallway
that
fight
was
scene.
that
Oh, the
was
hallway
epic.
scene.
Oh,
Yeah, that was epic. And
Yeah, that was
as
brutal.
much as I like the suit, I did like the bandana, not the bandana, but
Yeah,
the
that was kind of
blind
cool.
thing. And then you would just those like not glove, but like bandage. And I liked the raw part about it.
Yeah.
It was nasty. Definitely not for small kids, of course, right? But at the same time, as Chris is pointing out, I'm hoping that they're just not going to turn. I don't mind a little bit of a timely comedy here and there,
Yeah.
but not the dominant part kind of thing. I
Yeah.
think there's a
Right.
fine line that probably Disney has kind of noticed that people have been maybe complaining a little bit about the direction that they're taking, and I think they're kind of realizing that there are probably going to be some adjustment, but that's my take on that. As far as the Book of Boba Fett, actually, I really like that one. I like the fact that he was kind of going back into his past, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of those memories was in under that underwater tank that he has once in a while, kind of thing.
Back to tank.
And yeah, so I actually did like that. I like Mandalorian as well. For whatever reason, I seen on Twitter some people were upset about the last episode of Mandalorian. I'm not sure why, but
No,
some people were upset about that one.
Has anyone actually seen the latest episode of The Mandalorian?
no.
We haven't.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Spoil it.
No spoilers.
No,
Yeah.
I won't spoil it, but there are some big names make some big cameos in that episode.
Yeah, I'm not sure why somebody were upset about it, but I looked at it and I thought nothing to be upset at. It's like any other episode. It's pretty good.
I thought it was
pretty
great.
good. So
Yeah. Someone's always upset. There's no interoperability on it. I don't know. They'll complain about something, right?
Somebody just complain for the sake of complaining, so they got something to do.
Yeah.
It's a guarantee someone will complain.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yeah.
Anyway, Fro, did you have any questions you want to throw in there, mate?
I do. Wow. So, for you both, if someone were to ask you, is VeVe the next evolution to collecting, how would you respond and why?
Ooh.
Nice
one. I knew it was coming out. I knew the Whopper was coming out.
Well, from my
are you saying the only thing I could say about this is I guess in terms of collecting, maybe there'll be an appeal for this is what I was kind of pointing out about the digital part, and I think they're working on that. I'd like to see it more on the comic side since I'm collecting comics.
Yeah.
But I guess you kind of wonder that if they were to charge $20 for a drop, and then by winning at the drop, you get automatically mailed a comic, plus you get the NFT. I guess what would be the value of the NFT when I'm selling it? Because I'm going to keep the comic, right? It's going to be shipped to me. So you kind of wonder about the dynamic of that. Would it be just as valuable as the combo kind of thing? Maybe the combo is just to draw or attract some people kind of in the app, so that then I get a real book. Maybe this will actually be drawing actual comic book collectors, because they can kind of get both the digital and that part. But I think the digital part is going to be important at one point. I think maybe more important than people think, but that's kind of my take on that. That's where I think it should go. But at the same time, having the ability to transfer items as gift, like as you guys, my collectible used to do quite a bit when, now you're sending comic books, real comic books, because you don't have the ability to transfer. But I bet you anything that if you have the ability to transfer again, you probably, for ease of transferring or sending, you would rather go the NFT way than the physical way, right?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
end of the week, because I think you mentioned that there's some issues sometimes to send some comic books in certain countries. Right? It doesn't always work the way you want, but that's my take.
Some really good points in there, Denny. The phygital side is the part that gets me. It's actually sort of the theme of those blogs I write on Go Collect, that this phygital world that we're in, because I'm pairing both sides, right? The pre-internet with the fully immersed internet culture that we are all now living in. I look at it that the future of collecting will be digital. You're always going to have physical assets. I think those physical assets, as they become older and older, more and more rare and scarce, you're going to see, Marvel Comics 1, when there's only 100 left, they're going to be $10-20 million each. Like, the valuations are going to be at such a point that even a group of the rich, it will be out of reach for, right? But that will be offset by the digital counterpart that we can get into. Younger audiences, newer audiences who are fully immersed in digital experiences. I look at my kids, right? This is how they live. So the thought of them collecting physical assets might be more of a stretch than it was for me. So that, to me, is this blending. I talked about it a little bit earlier too, like, why would I, if I went out to heritage auctions and I drop $1 million to buy a copy of Fantastic Four #1 in a high grade, why on earth would I not want to pair that with its digital representation so that I have both? And that, to me, is phygital. I'm going to be completing, a set, really. I've got both assets. And I might even throw in a Marvel Unlimited subscription. If I got $1 million to buy a comic book, I'm probably reading them digitally already. But that completes the circle, right? I'm going to have the ability to have each and all of them. And then, beyond that, grab some of the characters that I'll be able to entertain myself or my kids or my family in these new virtual realities that we're going to be seeing. It's not, there's no if on this. I know Disney paused their metaverse team, right? 50 people, whatever that was. They didn't cancel it. They paused it.
Yeah.
Terminology is very important there. It's not the right market. Disney is not a company that goes into things to lose money. And so the timing is off. So they're just going to wait. And, maybe something behind the scenes is going on we don't know about, and someone else is, being given the chance. Maybe it's the VeVe-verse. I don't know. But that's, a timing thing that we're going to see. But that reality, when you own the assets that people are going to want to buy, use, see, rent, you're going to have, I for fun, I hope it's still there if you're going after it, Denny, but, the 628 rare Lamborghini was sitting not too far off the floor. And imagine that sitting in front of your showroom or whatever, car, and it's a flex. Be flexing these things. That's going to be the fun of collecting. I think, if anything, this is going to make more people want to collect, to get into this space. You're going to see it's an $8 billion industry, I think, comic collecting or whatever that is, but you're going to see it go bigger. You're going to see people going into comic book shops, buying the physical pairings. It's just I think it's going to stimulate the whole market. So I'm so excited by this and everything that it represents. And for me, I'm, kind of here early, I hope. I think in some ways I'm late. You know, I missed MC1 at $2, but I'm making up everything.
You never know what's coming though.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's to me, it's the tech that's making it's going to be easy. Let's not forget, right? Your house will be amplified. You know, right now we have speakers and maybe some lighting, you know, surround sound and big 60-inch plasmas and LCD screens and all that.
Mm.
That experience is going to change. Your living room is going to be a virtual experience. You're going to have friends over and you will be entertaining them with all kinds of different things happening.
Yeah.
Right. Brian on that show, right, talking about the things popping up. Like, it's just, we can't even envision, but it's not that far off because we're already expecting it to come. So it's just a matter of who's going to put it out first. Right. So,
but thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. Dee, is there anything else that you want to ask them before we go? I knew you were the last one.
No, we've talked about a lot of things, and I'm just enjoying just hearing you guys' words of wisdoms, your strategies, things I didn't even know to look for. So now I probably will add it to my strategy or whatever strategy I have. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you both on.
Oh, yeah. Welcome. Thank you so much for having us. You know, we've been watching you from afar, but so close, yet so close. So, you know, it's a blessing being here. So, and then maybe Chris and I and our family will fly over one of these days and say hi.
Yes.
Vice versa. I've always wanted to visit Canada. You know, both Dee and I, within this year, we've befriended so much Canadians that we've never been friends with any Canadians before, just because there's not a lot down here. So I mean, yeah, and I love you people. You guys are so awesome. You guys remind me of Hawaiians. You guys are so, you know, welcoming and, you know, easy to talk to and very positive, respectful. You guys are very respectful.
Thank you.
So, really appreciate that. And also to my friends here, Alex, you woke up at 2 a.m. to join us. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, thanks.
So happy to have you.
I wasn't going to miss this, man.
And then Fro, my brother from another mother. Thank you for also giving us your time, man. I know you're a busy guy as well, along with my beautiful wife. This has been a great conversation, guys. And I already told Dee, I kind of want to keep this unplugged. We're not going to have any music in the background. We're just going to have a raw conversation. And this may just go straight to YouTube, and we're not even going to cut anything and just upload it straight to YouTube. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But,
Dee, Alex, Fro, and Anno, thank you. Thank you. Really, this has been fantastic. 3 hours just blew by. 3.5. Right?
Among friends.
Yes.
Yeah, incredibly exciting to meet you all, and definitely if you get to Vancouver, if we get to Hawaii, we're hooking up for sure. All of you, England too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, if you ever get out here, man, we'll definitely look me up.
Anybody else come to Vancouver? Any of you, feel free to hook up and.
Oh, I should do that too, Denny. The plug here. Friday night next week, the 14th, we've got VeVe Vancouver Part 2. So there's a group of, I think we're 10, 12 of us now. We're going to meet up at the in Yaletown at the Earl's Restaurant. So if you're in Vancouver or you're interested, I don't know if this will make it out in time, but yeah, just DM either one of us so we can get you details, and that'd be great.
And there's some utility to it. So they show I think you'll end up getting a Funko Pop too.
Yeah, Funko Pop.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is
don't tempt me.
You know, what's funny is when Roth when he created the first meetup, the private group chat, I think I liked his post for something, so I'm included in that thing. I was like,
you're in the group.
What am I? I can't make it to Canada.
So
I didn't take myself.
I told her, let's surprise them.
Yeah. So
oh my gosh, that would have been a classic.
Oh, that would have been great.
So I was like, wow, that's so cool that they're meeting up. I mean, I don't share what's going on because that's in a private chat, but I was like, wow, this is so cool, and they haven't kicked me out of this group, so this is kind of cool.
Yeah, you're too famous.
You should have seen the video they made. with the AR. They used a seat of an arcade uh, uh, car racing game, and then it so happened to be green, so they actually put the Lamborghini, the green Lamborghini there, and then he was sitting in one of the guy was sitting it. And then they opened the door, and then he got out as if he was actually in the Lamborghini.
Oh, that's so cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it on any Twitter yet, that particular video, but I know Roth from Metaverse Life kind of thing did it. He actually was kind of filming it, so I'm not sure if it surfaced on anywhere on Twitter, but it was pretty good.
I think so. Yeah, I haven't
have to find it.
For it.
Exceptional guy too, by the way. I'm gonna throw in a shameless plug for Roth and Metaverse Life. Like, if you're not following him, get on that, right? That guy's got some kind of special skill at putting these things together.
Such a great guy. Oh my gosh.
Very energetic, very polite. Yeah, he was a pleasure. A fantastic representative of the the VeVe experience. So that was really nice to meet him too. So and everyone else that was there, hello. Hope to see you at the next ones.
Nice one.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, guys. And yeah, we've been chatting for 3 hours straight, and I felt like it just went by so quick.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we like to do here at the podcast, is we just kind of like to talk story. I'm not going to hit you guys with hard hitting questions with macroeconomics or anything like that. We're just going to have a conversation with friends. Yeah. So. And you guys are always welcome to come back on. We're going to be doing other things. Also, shameless plug, I'd like to also shout out the VeVe Collective. We have the president in the house with us, Mr. Ozmankollects63. And he's been hosting Twitter Spaces. And here's the beauty, guys. He's been hosting collector spaces. So it's basically no FUD spaces, no macroeconomic spaces. We're not talking about if our VeVe gems are going to moon. They're talking about comic books. They're talking about movies. And he's done twice already, and he's held it at
awesome
3 hours? 3 hours?
3 hours, yeah. But I think we are probably going to look at maybe like shortening it a little bit, because 3 hours is a bit of a marathon for some people. But but basically the Twitter space is just basically just to sort of get back to the roots of collecting, and like sort of just gives us a way to sort of interact more with the community as well, and just gives people a chance to sort of like come chill with us. We just talk comics, film, TV, pop culture, just anything, like all nerdy and geeky stuff in general, and it's been very well received so far. So we will definitely be continuing it in the future.
Very cool.
And we have a Discord if you and Mazer want to join, and it's just a bunch of collectors in there, and all we do is geek out. We have channels in there with movies and collectibles and comics. We just literally geek out in there. So you guys are welcome to join. We're even going to have a sniper alley soon.
All coming.
Calling Chris.
So, and then another shameless plug, Fro Ecomi, our resident poet over here. He does VeVe poems on the side and creates some positive videos and Vaultaholic creations. So shout out to him as well.
Yeah.
As well as Chris and your Go Collect blogs. If you guys aren't following him, please go ahead and follow him on Twitter and read his beautiful blogs. They're great. They're very nostalgic, and they're very mind-opening as well. So I think you guys would love his perspective, as well as Mazer over here, who is just our resident myth hunter on the floor, helping everyone and all the fam. Like, I see you in the comments as well. You guys are both legends in the Twitterverse. So thank you guys for coming on. And with that said, thank you, the audience, for watching us today. I hope you enjoyed the content. It was a really fun conversation with friends. We're not leaving. We're 100% still here, and we're always going to be here. Everyone, thank you for joining us today. And with that being said, take care. Aloha.
Happy Aloha Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah, everyone.
Hey, take care.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you.